I saw Van Jones trending on Twitter this week regarding a comment he made about the black police officers who killed Tyree. Van Jones said that white supremacy is responsible for the black officers beating to death this unarmed young black man. Some on Twitter and other social media sites were riled up over Jones's comment. Some say that Jones is wrong because it is black people killing other black people, so white supremacy is not involved. While I understand where these people are coming from, I think they haven't thought about what Van Jones is talking about, which is white supremacy as an institution that has taught black people to hate other black people. Black people must understand that racism is more about power than it is about the color of one's skin. Black people must also understand that white supremacy is an institution set up by white people to maintain white power. And black people must know that white supremacy does not need white people to be present to endure. White supremacy is actually a psychological tool coupled with economic power and is used by white people to oppress non-white people. So those 5 police officers are black. However, those officers have been educated and brainwashed by a system set up to keep black people in their lane. This same system was set up to make sure that white ideals are accepted as the norms in America and all around the world. So we have these 5 black police officers who were trained under a white system to go out into the black community and subjugate black people. Remember, the police was not created to monitor white people, but was used as a tool to keep black people in line during slavery and Reconstruction. Those 5 police officers are black, but they are operating under the system that taught them that black people are to be considered suspect. Now some might ask, how can one say that these black officers are racist against the victim who is another black man? What you have to understand is that white supremacy and racialized biases does not only affect white people, but it can also manifest in black people, where black people living in a majority white society start to believe the ideals of white supremacy. White people have used mental games and psychology to maintain white supremacy even when they're not present. Even though black people are no longer enslaved, white people have many of our black people's mind in their hands, where everything is designed for black people. Black people are told how to walk, how to talk, what is beauty, what is acceptable, who to love and who to hate. It is time for black people to wake up and wise up. It is time for black people to wake up and gain true mental independence. Black people have to wake up because the recipe that white people have used for centuries to dominate black people is potent. This recipe is actually called the divide and conquer mentality, where black people are taught to hate themselves and hate others that look like them. This recipe was cooked up when white oppressors introduced white Jesus, and many of our black people believe in their hearts, even subconsciously to this day, that this white person or the image of whiteness is associated with goodness. Here you have black people believing and praying to the image of a white man. Here you have black people subconsciously believing in a man, a white man, is going to burst through the clouds and save us. Believing in white people's image, the same image that has oppressed us. Black people in their heart believe that that same image is going to save us. That image that has oppressed us via institutional racism and white supremacy, where black people's humanity cannot be seen, where our humanity cannot be honored, not even by those who look like us. And here we are as black people in America, devoted to our oppressors' ideology more than we love and are devoted to ourselves. And here we are in America, living in a white man's world, in a white woman's world, where we're set up for failure, set up to hate each other. And many, many, many of us black people have affirmed it as our destiny. All because the weight of mental slavery and ignorance has shattered many of our people's mind into rejecting anything or anyone that looks like us, rejecting anything or anyone that is black. And we keep rejecting each other because we are thirsty for white validation, validating ourselves through the eyes of the people whose ancestors oppressed and enslaved, violated and killed our ancestors. Still many of us believe that everything we say, think and do must align with the philosophy of white people's ideology. So we accept the white people's reality as the only way to solve our problems. Black people in 2023 America, freed from the chains around our hands and around our feet, but sadly not from the chains around our brains. 2023, and still we as black people are treated less than dogs by many white people, by some Hispanic people, Asian people, and by other black people. Black people are gunned down more than any other people in America. Black women raped, black people mistreated and disrespected every single day. And yet, we cannot admit that we are in trouble in the black community. We are in trouble. So how do we gain real black unity and become better than we are now? The answer is self-image and self-love. The reason why black people are at the bottom of every statistic that has to do with progress is that we are self-hating people who are suffering from the residues of mental slavery. Have you ever wondered why black people spend so much time trying to be like white people? Have you ever wondered? It is actually because of a psychology of self-hate implanted when white people introduced Christian religion to black slaves, which caused blacks to fall in love with the image of whiteness, falling in love with the image they associate with goodness, kindness, and Jesus and God. Self-image and self-love is important because if one doesn't love themselves, they cannot love someone that looks like them. And white Americans know that, and they have used the image of white angels and white Jesus to fool many, many black people into believing that whiteness is associated with goodness. This tool that they have used have fooled many, many black people into believing that white men are like gods, that they're powerful, that they will one day save you from your sins and grant you salvation. The same tool is used to fool many of us that white women are angelic, loving, kind, and everything that women should ascribe to become. That is why so many of our black men, when they speak about femininity and what makes a good woman, they always resort to describing white women. White people have also used the media as a tool to control the narrative of who is seen as good and who is depicted as evil. Remember, back in the 90s, blacks were always shown as the criminal on television. Whites were the Jesuses and gods and pharaohs and kings. Blacks were depicted as the killers, thugs, drug dealers, pimps, and the wild black man coming to rape the docile, untouched, and submissive white angelic female. Today in 2023, the white-controlled media have resorted to another form of psychological device. The idea that if you want a good life in a nice home, or if you want to have fine things, you must date and marry outside of your black race. We see this in the many interracial ads that are dominating the airways. White man with a black woman with their mixed kids, or a black man with a white woman driving a nice car. This is the new message. Another trick. And young black people will sit and watch these people on TV seeing all these interracial ads, and they might believe that to achieve anything in America, they must love and marry white people. We see this belief manifested in how many of our rich black celebrities will date and marry the daughters of their forefathers' colonizers, as though love can only be found in the arms of white women. We see black men with many millions of dollars marrying white waitresses and pole dancers while rejecting good, decent black women. The trick is also working on some of our highly educated or wealthy black sisters who have also fallen victims to the ideals, or should I say, the implants of self-sabotage meant to divide and conquer. Where many of us believe that if we get rich, we must switch and upgrade, as they say. Upgrade to what? These psychological methods are very effective because little black girls and boys will see these images and they will be affected by these images, and they may grow up and teach their little black girls and boys how to hate themselves and others who look like them. It is so sad to see many of our black people teaching self-hate to their sons and daughters like it is some special family recipe. That is a recipe that will end in racialized death. To escape the trick, we have to look into the root cause of this type of thinking. We as black people have to figure out how we got to this place where we have fallen victims to a fiction fed to us by white people, the same white people who enslaved our foreparents. And now many black people in 2023 see whiteness as the representation of goodness on earth. How? 40 plus years after Marcus Garvey, after Malcolm X, after Dr. King, after Harriet Tubman, what is black people waiting for? Are we looking for another hero? Why can't we rise up in unity and become the people we were supposed to become? And black people have to rise up because the condition of many black people in America is almost as bad as it was during slavery. Every day we see and hear of black people shooting and killing each other like dogs in the streets, almost as if black people have lost their humanity. Look at Chicago and Baltimore and the other inner city communities. Look at the number of deaths per week, deaths carried out against black people by other black people. Some people might say no, nothing could be as bad as slavery. But if we look at the behavior of many of our black brothers and sisters, we will see that mental slavery has taken hold of their minds and restricted them into the mindset of hate, where many of our black brothers and sisters are quick to hate and kill someone that looks like them, that looks black, while upholding the ideals of white supremacy. 40 plus years after Marcus Garvey, and still many blacks are wallowing in self-doubt and self-hate, loving white people and aspiring for love from white people, while hating and withholding love from black people. But if black people just step out of the belly of misinformation and let go of a flawed and illegitimate concept that was given to us by slave-driving, insecure white men and white women to confuse and oppress the black mind, we might find in ourselves the answers to the question or questions that have for so long confounded us. Just for a moment, step outside of the psychological white person's perspective and find love within yourselves. Find love within yourselves so you can look at someone who looks like you and see in them someone that you can love. I don't think that black people understand the magnitude of the concept of white supremacy and its effect on how we view black humanity, how we see each other. So Van Jones was correct. White supremacy is somewhat responsible for the killing of Tyree, because white supremacy is a system set up to maintain white power. It is time black people get a grip and understand how white supremacy works, because no other non-white group has ever been affected by white supremacy as black people, especially black men. It is true, black men are more likely than Hispanic, Asian, or Native men to buy into the ideals of white supremacy and to exhibit it as self-hate towards their race. Let us take, for example, the killing of this black man by 5 other black men. It is true, people kill where they live. White people kill where they live. Still, no other group of men in the 21st century in the United States have shown so much hate towards their race as black men have. Which other group of men in America have we seen shown such disregard towards each other? Black men hating on each other, hating black women, killing at will, killing children, killing women, killing other men, killing old people in black communities. Now imagine those 5 black police officers beating to death the young black man without pause. Here we see 5 black men, men who swore to serve and protect, beating to death a handcuffed young man who cried out for his mother. He cried for his mother while they kicked him in the head, punched him in the head, beating him to death without 1 ounce of regard for human life, without 1 drop of regard for black life. I wonder if they would have beaten a white man to death, I think they wouldn't have, because black people were taught to hate other black people. We were taught to see blackness as badness and whiteness as goodness. And we have treated black people and white people differently because of this mindset. It is time for us to be honest in the black community and come together to find the solutions to the problems that have plagued us for more than 100 years. We have to come together, black people. We have to come together in unity. We have to drop this heavy weight of mental slavery and embrace our black humanity. To all my black brothers and sisters out there, remember, we must come together as a race and heal the wounds that have for so long divided us. Thank you all for listening. I hope you will have a good week no matter where you are. I hope you will also like my videos, and take care until next time.